Well, Lulu,
Julia, finally.
finally, from July, September, and finally you're here.
Yes.
And as you walk through the door, there's this incredible kind of energy that comes with you. And you belt up all these stairs that people literally 30 years younger can't climb. And it's like you have this incredible life force.
Well, that's a very nice way of putting it.
And as I was reading your book, If Only You Knew, which made me cry, which made me laugh, it's a very moving, beautiful book. And I literally read it. I ate it in minutes. So it's a
wow.
beautiful book.
Well, I'm honoured that you've done that.
Mm. And you look surprised.
Yeah, I think people in your position, you know, the interviewer at this moment, people speed read. Or they get the front, they get the back, they get the middle. I don't think people read. I am very guilty of that, actually. And now I'm completely obsessed with Audible.
Listening.
But I do believe to read the books, to read the scripts, you have to do that if you want to really get the essence, the depth, and the...
Get under the skin.
Under the skin is good too.
Because what I felt with you is you were the age of Bella, your granddaughter, who I'm
Yes, who
lucky
you know.
enough to know, when you hit global fame with Shout. And now, 60 years later, you have transformed yourself from a pop star to a performer to an actor. You've performed with all of the greats in so many different places and stages. And yet I really felt there was a kind of truth of you that ran through the whole of your life. And yet there's also this tension between what you said at the very beginning. I was born Marie and I will die Lulu.
I got, oof, it was like a jolt when you said that, because I think it is true, and I've thought about it a lot before it went down into the book. But to hear someone else say that, isn't it amazing that I really, at this point in my life, have only understood that at all? I mean, I just carried on, pushed forward, and I, you know, like a mad woman, I run everywhere. I, like you mentioned.
You ran up the stairs.
I don't walk up the stairs. I run everywhere.
I said, do you want to take the lift? You said, no, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, I got to get some exercise.
I got to count my
I've got
steps.
to be agile. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that both the physical and the mental agility is an issue at the moment, you know. You don't want to lose it all because it definitely changes as you get older. But that whole thing about my doing the book, the fact that I have a 15-year-old granddaughter and I can compare, it's as if it's somebody else, because it was another part of my life. It was a different time. I am connected to that character, or both those characters, actually, because when you write a book, I think you have to be sort of a little bit objective, you know, to be able to analyze, to look at things. It's weird. That's what I'm trying to say. And I feel a bit weird about it all, but the more I talk about the things that I never did want to go into, it gets slightly easier, and it gets easier to understand some of it, because it's mad. I've had the craziest, amazing life, and it's still not over.
No, there's a lot of life in you yet. Yeah.
I mean, who am I? Who do I think I am? I think I'm 15, actually, still. Part of me is still 15. But isn't that
True of all of us.
And it's a psychological understanding that I've had explained to me before, that when you have fame and success at a very, very young age, it's hard to emotionally develop, grow. And looking at the book that's just been written, yeah, I see that.
Because it's almost like, and I don't know if I can say this in the way that I can feel it in my body as I'm looking at you now, that the part of you that enabled you to thrive, which was finding your voice.
Speaking voice as well as singing.
And also the song Shout. You know, like see me, hear me.
Yes.
Is also in some way the part of you that was silenced, that was hiding the shame of multi-generations of Glaswegian families who'd been born into poverty, who could never complain, who were never heard, and had a lot of trauma, and their only kind of anesthetic was alcohol. So it's like these two, this silenced part and then this other part, and they just didn't meet for decades.
That's what I think, if I could say straight off the bat, that's what's so incredible about therapy. Because one has an objective person to speak to who is trained, you know, for instance, for anyone who's not goes to therapy, oh, poo, 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 Bob, hum, you know, whatever. And that was more like, this country was more like that years ago.
Yeah.
Now we're much more accepting of stuff like this. It was always like, oh, that's so woohoo and it's so American and all that. But now it's,
weak. It was weak.
It was weak.
It was weak to go to therapy. You have to be
Is that
strong.
what it was? Yeah. You stiff upper lip and all that stuff. But how I found it to be so useful, because there were so many secrets, let's say that. That's the very obvious thing. That when I did discover therapy and started to do therapy or shared my secrets, it lightened the load. And that's what it does. And also, if you get a good therapist, if you have a good relationship with the therapist, I find, because I've had a few and some better than others, personally, for me.
That's true.
And no judgment on the person. And we're not going to name names. So if you kind of find that relationship, the person that hears you, that just asks the right questions, is simpatico, asks the right questions, and therefore allows you to freely speak your truth. It's incredibly healing. It's almost, I can say those words, but it's impossible to explain it. It's just, if you do it and you get it, you meet someone who did it and got it, and you go, wasn't it great? And you don't really have to go in too much explanation about it. But it's I suppose, yeah, my family had so much shame. They had so many secrets that they got stuck. I don't even know when. Way, 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 way back. So what's happened, and when you go into recovery from alcoholism, you then find a tribe that understands you, and then you develop your understanding, and in that you are healing and you're being educated at the same time. It's the most incredible thing, because in the past, I suppose we had to rely on the village, the old crones, and living in a city like Glasgow, they just weren't around. I would think happens in the country. That's how I see it. Not in the city, because the city's boom, bam, boom, boom, boom. That's why I have that sort of energy, maybe. Although I was probably born with it.
I think you were born with that energy.
Yeah, I chose, because I follow an Eastern path. So I know I've been here before. I know
You're an old soul.
I will be coming back, because I haven't learned all I have to learn. And it's not so much learning as remembering what I learned the last time and the time before, and putting it to good use. So I have a purpose in this life, for sure. That's why I'm here. And the mad life, fantastically mad life, is what I chose, I feel.
And is your purpose in life connecting through music? So
100%. Don't have to go in for any further.
That's it.
That's it. That has been the platform for me to have the education that I didn't have as a child. No formal education. A worldly education. Open my eyes wider and my ears, and learn through experience rather than from books and, in a classroom.
And you have really lived a very rich life. So if we backtrack a little bit and meet Marie, and I'm sure you've told this story too many times about how Marion and Tony decided on your name.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's almost like at that point they gave you this cover that then became this amazing performer, but also you lost yourself. But tell us about the name.
Okay. The name Lulu, at the time, when, as you mentioned, Julia, I had an amazing woman who managed me for 20-something years. And she was like a surrogate mother. She was a Holland Park housewife, if that paints a picture for you.
Yeah.
For me, it does. And for those who can't imagine what a Holland Park housewife was, well off, beautiful home, staff, people who work for you in the house, answering the door, answering the phone, cooking the food, nannies, and the kids went
So
to
she
the
was well off and protected.
Lycée Français. So she had an interesting life. But she was trained as a coloratura soprano when she was very young, and she didn't fulfill her ambition to be a singer. She got married and had kids, and then she, I think, became bored when they were all at school. 3 of them were at school. So she married me, but what she said...
She married me, that's a Freudian.
She married me when she got married. That was Freudian.
That was Freudian.
Well, it was a marriage of sorts.
It was a marriage.
It was, yeah. And so she's like a surrogate mother to me, and, thought I could do anything, sing, dance, comedy.
She believed in you.
She totally saw me, heard me, and believed in me. And in a completely different way to what I was used to. But because of the 60s, which was when I was discovered, she said, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, the Animals, the Kinks, they're such cute names. We've got to find a name for you. Because my name's Marie McDonald McLaughlin Laurie. In actual fact, no one ever called me that. It would just be Marie. But she says, it's got to be memorable and cute, da-da-da-da. And I think Roxy was one name that was put to the side. But
That would have been harsher, wouldn't it, Roxy?
Yeah.
A bit more black leather.
Maybe, yeah. But I was a bit young, I suppose. Anyway, they came up with Lulu because she'd gone to America, because Jerry was educated her husband was educated at Syracuse University, had friends there, they'd go to America a lot. The phrase that was used in America a lot was something is a Lulu, and it either meant it was fabulous, or it was a Lulu of a party, we all had a great time, or it was a Lulu of a party, everybody left early because it stunk. So it could be used in that way in America. And then I think the Webster's Dictionary, I'm not sure, they came up with the explanation that Lulu meant remarkable. That's what I thought was interesting about that funny little name. And it's been so good to me, Lulu. Lulu's been so kind to me and opened a whole new world up for me. But you were asking about the 2 names, I mean, 2 characters. I had to put Marie on the back burner, because there were 4 things I had. Shall I tell you the 4 things that I had to change?
Yeah.
In fact, I had to change everything, if you want to know. First of all, my name, then my accent, and then my personality, and then the style of singing.
Wow.
It's quite a lot. And I only thought about it when writing the book, really. I just took it for granted. I took it on, I ran with it, and that's why I'm here now.
But it's almost like running into, as you've always run, because you have this life force, changing your personality, changing your name, changing your voice, changing your accent. That adaptability has what has been your greatest survival and, in a way, thriving mechanism. And yet, in the last 10 years, is it? Or 15 years, you slowed down enough to recognise that it was also running away from a kind of core part of you that is inside you and was in some way poisoning you because it kept on being kind of squashed down. And I was thinking about when you talked about your childhood and the violence and the alcoholism and the way that vulnerability or emotions were absolutely not allowed. The only thing was allowed was to get on, because
Move
that was
forward.
the only
Push
move
forward.
because that was the only thing available. It was a good strategy, but somehow that there were these deep wounds that you'd never connected with, and in some way I felt through the book, and I felt you found your voice for them in the book, but you were running away from those wounds, and yet they were also influencing your life silently.
Sideways too.
Sideways.
Because, you know, I think I now know that if you don't look at what's bothering you, or if there's something going on, and actually that's the thing that I do. You know, I said before we started, I have notes in my phone of things that I've read that people have said, quotes, or things that I felt really resonated with me. But I sometimes forget them, so I have to write them in a book to remind me. And one of the things that I think is really amazing to me is that I can now look at how it's sort of changing the patterns of lifetimes. Because if one person in the family does it, I know, whatever the one person makes a huge, big change in their life, it's like a ripple.
It's a system.
It's like a ripple. It you know, it affects slowly but surely. For instance, my niece always says to me, Auntie Lulu, if you wouldn't have done what you did, none of us would be well. We might not even be born. We might not be. And I go, well, that's a bit of a responsibility. No, don't you hand that to me. But in fact, it is true. It's true in everyone's life that if we make a positive change, you know, often your closest people will make a decision to, maybe that would be a good idea for me, or it just happens to them. So fascinating about families. But the old stuff sticks too, like the old secrets. Like my family, my mother and my father, they had hellish lives. Well, not hellish, but difficult, and never addressed, never spoken about. So the deal with me is, as far as therapy is concerned, bring it into the light, whatever you're pushing down, because that will come up and bite you in the arse. Excuse my French. Or, you know, it'll just all of a sudden, out of the blue, you know, it'll have nothing to do with anything that's going on, and you'll have a hissy fit. Or you'll have a breakdown, which is worse. Or you'll get sick. So I do think it's really important to not push everything down. And that's what I would do. You explained it beautifully. I run, I go forward, I bring it on. What's next, what's next, what's next? Because I'm blessed with having a lot of energy.
And a lot of talent.
Thank you. Although I don't think talent is necessary. I think you just have to have determination. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, I look at people, I'm not mentioning names again, who I look at and think, I don't know, and how in hell did they ever get to be as successful as they are? Because they're absolutely awful. And my nieces and my granddaughter always say to me, you should say that. People don't hear you talk like that. I said, no, I have to be respectful. You know, people have their own journey. But that's Marie. That's Marie. Now, Lulu
would never say that.
Lulu was trained to be happy, clappy, poppy, bubbly, squeaky clean Delulu. Where Marie from Glasgow, who was there till she was 15, so pretty well, you know, her character was developed pretty much. She was happy, but she was scrappy. Also sometimes angry, bluesy, gutsy. Not like Lulu. So there's those two parts of me, but I think it's true of everybody, actually. And that I've managed to talk about a little bit on stage recently, because we all have to wear a different hat for different scenarios in our life.
Of course.
So now I'm beginning to see, I personally think that if I'd have had an education, say a good education, come from a different family, my character would have liked to have been a therapist.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm very analytical. I'm very curious. And I absolutely am here to connect. And I felt very disconnected for most of my life. Only now do I feel more connected. That's why I can talk. That's why I'm opening out. I'm opening up. What would you say about that, being a therapist?
I think you'd make an amazing therapist because you
I don't wanna
have this
start.
amazing emotional sensorium that you
Oh,
feel
it's
a
the
lot,
emotional thing that helps one.
the senses. But I'm also like trying to take in, because the emotional resonance in your voice and the way that your heart expands when you sing, when you're on stage, on your own or with Take That or with Elton John or with David Bowie or all
Rod
of these
Stewart at Glasgow this year.
amazing. That also connects. It's deeply relational. So there's a similar, I literally was banned from singing at school, so I wasn't allowed to sing. But I think where the connection and that we're born relational, that sings to me, that makes sense to me, what you're saying. I guess what feels sad is that there was a part of you that felt empty and wasn't alive when outwardly you were such a kind of smash hit alive. And that feels sad for me.
Oh, that's very sweet that you're so empathetic about that. But you know now how I see it? Because I always see the glass half full, not half empty. I mean, I've trained my mind. That's what we have to do. And I don't give advice to anybody. But if I was, it would be, you can train your mind.
You definitely can.
So I think I would have, there was some sadness in me that I didn't look at for whatever reasons. But I think I had a purpose. So I had to get on with what I was doing right there and then. Coming to London, becoming, a child of the universe, not just a child from Glasgow. And I had to learn, I had to adjust, and I had to soak up whatever I could. I couldn't analyze it all and understand it all, but I was taking it in. I was taking it in. And what do you mean about that voice?
Well, because it's like it becomes like some rock,
a force.
Deep force.
It's a force. And there is a force within me, as there is within all of us.
Within all of us.
But I'm lucky, where I know I'm one of the luckiest people in the world. I've had a lot of sadness. Oh my God, I've had so much sadness. Yeah. But I'm a bit of heavy furniture. I'm a tortured soul also. And I've accepted that. And I kind of like that part about me because it means I can go deep. I'm not just living on the surface.
Tell me more about your tortured soul.
Because when I sing a song, I don't just sing la 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 da 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 da. I've got to go yeah da da da. I ring it out.
You do. You want to get to the guts of it.
So that part of me, which comes from
generations,
comes from generations. I mean, the sadness, the guilt, the shame. I understand from doing a lot of therapy. Is sometimes carried shame.
Yeah.
Carried.
Transgenerational.
100%. I get that. I mean, I look at myself now in the mirror and I am my mother. And then
do you look like your mum?
I do. And then I look in another mirror another time and I'm like, exactly my father. And yet I'm not them. I'm only part of them. I'm very much me. But as I grow older, I kind of know why I'm here. And I think that is the most important thing. The most important thing is, do you know who you are? And do you know what you're doing here? What are you here for? It's not to be famous or rich, buy expensive handbags every 5 minutes, which I went through a phase of that. Well, you're going to have a bit of a purpose, And I know that all that I've done up till now has prepared me now. Now I'm ready. Now I'm beginning to do what I'm meant to do. I mean, I've done a bit of it, Giving joy, hopefully, when you're on stage is a wonderful thing. Because we all, no matter what position we hold in life, socially, we are all the same, essentially. And we're here to learn. If we don't learn, we keep coming back till we get it. That's how I see it. Simple, straightforward, and yet it isn't. And it is.
Difficult to do.
It is, but it isn't. So now I see that that's what I did. And God, that's so good. It's not because I wanted to be famous. I never thought of that. It was to also exorcise all that emotion in me. let it out when
Express
I say
it. Yeah.
But be relating to other people who have similar, because we are all similar. And now I'm more conscious of that. So I do it purposefully, and connect.
So that's your purpose.
That's
is to share your wisdom and connect through your lived experience.
Exactly. Because people say, why haven't you retired? And I have to ask myself, why haven't I retired? I don't want to retire. Just because everybody else does it doesn't mean I have to do it.
And I love that, Lulu, you have such a fuck you spunk that you must have had at 7, 21, 28. It's like, no.
No, I mean, I can't. It's even if I thought in my head that I could. I'm too antsy. And then it comes to, why am I here? And it is to spread the joy if I have got it. And if I've got, and I don't mean that in a grand scale, I mean in a small scale. My mother used to say to me very simply, and I used to get so annoyed with her, that face will get you killed, because I could go, whatever, I'd be, giving up my eyes to the ceiling and all that. And she also would say, smile, doesn't cost anything. Smile. Just smile at people when you're going down the road. Smile when you meet them. It's important. It was the thing she stipulated. And I get it.
Yeah.
Except, of course, I'm extreme, so I will overdo that. And that's where the squeaky clean... But it also served me. There you go.
It worked for you.
It worked for me. Until it didn't. And then I had to look at it. Pushing everything down was not working anymore.
No. But you've done a lot of work, and you put me straight. What I understood is that you've had 3, apart from your parents and your siblings, 3 most significant relationships with Morris, with John, and with your son, Jordan.
And that when you put it like that, I was expecting a woman to come in there. But you gave me 3 men. And I have always, I think, been afraid of men. And I've never said that before. I actually said it on stage last week and I went, oh.
Didn't know I felt that?
Oh, no, I remembered I thought of that before, but pushed it down. And when I was in therapy, I would say I liked, because I'm in a fellowship and there's men and women, I would always sort of go to the ones with women until I was a few years in recovery. And then, because I felt couldn't share certain things.
Well, you didn't trust men because your dad was violent.
No, I didn't trust men. So that's why it's interesting that you said there's 3 men. So those are very much healing.
Because you did heal with all of them. Do you want to say a little bit about each of them, about Morris, and then you met together for your show?
Yeah, that was sweet that I did that. Yeah, Morris and I were chilled with his brother Barry and my brother Billy. Both said the same thing. You two should not be getting married. You're not really going to get married, are you? But of course I was a virgin. So if I was going to have a relationship with anyone, say I was going to have a physical relationship with anyone, I had to marry them.
That was the rule.
That was how I was brought up.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I'm glad that rule isn't 100% these days.
It's the reverse, actually.
Yeah, no, that it's the answer to everything, to have sex before the marriage isn't going to make sure your marriage is working. There's a lot of other things too.
Yeah.
But, so the relationship with Morris was because the healing came, I feel, because he was a gentle soul. He was not angry. I'm sure he had anger. It came out in a different way, but to my father, I'm thinking of my father. So my father was aggressive. And even if you'd see my father's hands, my father had, because he worked in the meat market, and he would always slice a piece of his hand off here and there and have it stitched. And sometimes he wouldn't even stitch it. He'd just put some kind of Vaseline type stuff on it, and he would anyway, tough. I didn't want a tough man, I think. I wanted a man who was maybe, is the phrase in touch with his feminine side? I don't think that's maybe not a phrase that's used anymore, but who was gentle, yeah. And it's not to say my father wasn't a gentle soul too, but had to deal with the life around him, which was tough.
Yeah. But Morris became an alcoholic. He became a drug addict.
I would not like to declare.
No.
Morris was one thing or another, but his relationship with alcohol was, he had a relationship with alcohol that, yeah. And with Morris too, he felt, when I look back, I didn't realize it then, although I did know, he felt overshadowed by his older brother, who was devastatingly handsome, 6 foot whatever. Morris was 5'9", 5'10" at the most. And Barry was the leading force. And he was also a wonderful brother, a wonderful son. Talented, and kept them together, and, he felt overshadowed by it. Because Barry looked like Errol Flynn.
Yeah.
Really. I remember he had a little goatee beard and a moustache. And I think he felt overshadowed by his other brother, Robin, who had this unusual voice.
That very high voice.
Which everybody liked, like a sheep. Not my taste.
No. Morris was your taste.
Morris was gentle, but we were too young. We were just so young.
But I can feel as you're talking, there's still so much love for him.
So much love for him. So much respect for the way he dealt with me. Because I am not easy. And, I mentioned I'm a tortured soul. I'm dramatic. I've got energy. I want to go, 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 go. It's not that I'm incredibly difficult. I don't know if I know how to be married, though. I've tried it twice, and it lasted for a while. And I think now I'm not married, and I don't need to be married. I wouldn't mind a companion that I don't have, like a really close companion, but I don't know. It's not a desperate need to be attached and joined at the hips with a man, which I always thought was the way to make myself happy. But Morris fulfilled that part for a while, and then it didn't work. And it was difficult. We were arguing a lot, and I thought, oh God, and his drinking maybe, I don't want this to be like my parents. But it actually took a lot for me to split from him. I'm one of those people who holds on forever. But yes, I think Morris healed something in me. And then, of course, I was no longer a virgin. It doesn't mean to say that I ran around and thought, now I'm going to play the field. I was still not driven. Some people are driven. Their sexual needs are very high. Mine weren't. I see it as you are in love. It's a
intimacy.
Intimacy is a spiritual thing, It's intimate, right? That's the true meaning of intimacy, when you have sex with somebody rather than scratching an itch. I'm sorry to be so.
Yeah.
I never had that.
No.
So I was lucky, but then, of course, all my energy is energy. All my energy went into my work and learning what I could soak up.
Your curiosity, your hunger to learn.
I want to soak it up. And I immediately soaked up Marion's accent and went from, hello, how are you? My name's Lulu, to Holland Park housewife. Hello. Yes, I would like one day to be... I've watched myself recently on an interview. I don't know if it was with David Frost or somebody, but I thought, who the heck is that? Poor thing. She doesn't know who she is. Acting the part of Lulu. But people seem to like Lulu, so why would I bring Marie along with all her angst and her history of shame and stuff? It's not fun. Rock and roll is fun. Music is fun. And it's healing.
But also, I think what you're saying in your book and what you're saying now is to give permission for all of our different versions of ourselves. So that the Lulu that was on the stage, who was fun and bubbly and said yes to everything.
I love her.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
And
but she's limited.
But there are many other parts to her too. That's Marie, that's dark, that mourned the marriage with John, that mourned a miscarriage with John, who mourned not being the mother she might have wanted to be if she'd known more.
What I know now. Isn't that fascinating, though? That's the story of time, isn't it? If only I'd have known what I know now. But that was my learning curve. Many learning curves.
But the key with you, and I think it comes very clearly in the book, is that we all make mistakes and we don't know what we don't know. But you did a lot of reckoning, and the book feels like a reckoning, and that's what you're saying.
Explain reckoning to me, how you see that.
So I see reckoning as an acknowledgement of suffering, whether it's giving suffering or suffering within yourself.
Yes.
And with the intention to connect and repair and heal.
And take responsibility.
And take responsibility.
For your part in it.
You said it better than me.
No, you said it beautifully. But I heard someone said to me the other day, I read your book and you're so forgiving. And that word jumped out at me, and I thought I would never use that word about myself. I want to be forgiving. I am forgiving. I was forgiving. I will be forgiving. Never. How I would, my brain works, I would say, well, I looked at it and I saw my part in it. Because I've trained myself to think that way. I didn't think that way when I was a child. It was from doing therapy, reading books, listening to other people's experience, people that I respected. How did you get through that difficult time? You look at your part in the situation that was painful. Like as a child, obviously, I didn't have much responsibility with the fighting with my parents. And when I put my father in jail because I thought they were going to kill each other one day, I felt very guilty for many, many, many years about it. But then I thought, well...
You say that like it trips off your tongue when I put my father in jail.
I know, because I've been talking about it on tour.
Right.
Before, I would never talk about it. It was shoved down in my big toe for years, 60, 70 years. But eventually, when it came up, I was crying. And I sometimes do cry when I'm present or when I'm contained.
But to contain you in this moment, when we're talking about reckoning, perhaps what you're saying is that your capacity to forgive also allows other people to forgive you, in that you've had a very moving rebuilding with Jordan. Can you talk about that? I mean, I don't know if you want to. I know your son, so I love your son. I love your grandchildren.
And he will not listen to this, of course. It would be too painful, I should imagine. And anyway, he knows all. He said, I won't be reading that book. He said, I know all anyway. But...
he probably doesn't know it all, actually, to be fair.
Because I have not revealed everything to everybody, but more and more and more with Jordan and I, and that's why we're getting closer.
Lovely.
We are closer and closer and closer because I've looked at my pain. I don't want to big myself up and say he is impressed at the work I do, but he has told me, he's...
proud of you.
He's what? Proud of the work that I've done. That's a good word. I can't even find the words. And that's what makes me want to cry, because he's very kind and forgiving of what I didn't give him. And I think I'm not going to say about everybody else, but I know there are things that I could have done differently. But he's accepted it and moved on, because he has also done work on himself. He's smart as a whip. He's getting emotionally so clever and so in tune that, we're kind of on the same page, which is fabulous.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. And that's also why I say I've put the work in, but I'm also lucky. I'm very blessed. And that's why I do want to give back whatever I can. And I always used to think, how can I do it? People have these huge charities and they do this amazing work and they devote themselves to... How do I do it? And the only way I know how to do it is to sing, is to do the music, and to be a musician, to be an artist and learn how to communicate. Then I can give, and then I can receive. I find it very hard to receive kindness. I find it very hard. I cry when people are kind to me. I like to give.
Because you have more power when you give.
That's right. I like to control.
You have to be vulnerable to receive.
I find it hard to be vulnerable. And that's what I did with the book.
And what you're doing now.
Now, yeah.
And that takes a lot of courage. And
It's
very
taken a long
moving.
time.
But also, it's a fantastic role model. Like, it's never too fucking late.
Yeah.
And also that the way that you've loved Bella and Teddy, who again, I love your grandchildren.
Yeah.
That's been healing for you.
Oh my God. Oh
Hasn't
my
it?
God. I mean, I said to my daughter-in-law, I always say I have the best daughter-in-law. She's just she's such a good mother.
She's
really
is.
Homemaker, family, family is everything to her. And
she loves you.
And she's so accepting of me. I made up my mind. I'm going to, I just didn't just turn up and not turn up and just hang out. I made my mind up. This is a job. I'm going to be good at this job as the mother-in-law. I'm going to be accepting. I'm going to help where I can. I'm going to back off where I,
Need to.
I figured it out the best I could. Because what she gave me with those two children, it's miraculous.
What did she give you?
The joy those kids give me. The access, first of all. The access. It's important for her children to have a relationship with their grandparents. It's
important for everyone.
And now we know it's very important.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But this was 15 years ago. I'd never heard that said really publicly. But she's so clever and so loving. But Jordan's marriage to her, I tell you what I used to pray for from the day he was born. Please, God, please let him marry some crazy girl that gets along with his crazy mama. Because I don't want to be divorced from
exiled, which can happen.
Yeah. And my prayer was answered. And that's why I say I'm one of the luckiest people in the world.
Yeah.
So the fact that I couldn't have the 4 children that I had thought I would have, it's been given to me in another way. And even John, who has children of his own, because he's their grandfather, I say to him, well, no. I'm not going to share this time with you because I don't get to see them on their own. So you'll have to wait. I'm not going to organize for you and I to see them. I'm organizing for me to see them. And it's not easy because of the school and the homework and all the extracurricular stuff they have to do.
And your diary isn't empty.
Yeah. I said, you've got 2 kids. You fulfill that need in you. They fulfill the need in me that I didn't get from my marriage. I got it from my son and my daughter-in-law. And it's like heaven. I mean, that Teddy and that Bella are a joy. Now, the only way to get them is on Snapchat. And she pulls her phone up. Hi, Nana. Say hi to my friends. Hi, how are you? All right, Nana, see you. Bye. That's it. And it's so, I come off and I laugh my head off.
It's like a glimmer, isn't it? It's a little burst of joy.
Yeah, and their energy, fresh, happy. Oh, God, it's a gift, such a big gift in my life. And Jordan gets that I'm making my amends.
Through them.
We've discussed that. And he said, I know. He's so smart.
Yeah.
I know, Mum. So that's also brought us to it's great that, I'm so available for his children. And always have been. And my sister, who's very wise, my sister's an old, wise...
Edwina.
Soul. Yeah. She said, yeah, the work that you put into that will never, ever dissipate. That's there forever, for their whole life. It's just been a gift. Having the heartbreak of not having had
more children.
It's all kind of like the glass is half full, not half empty. And so the thing with Morris was a healing on some level, and I can't put it totally into words, but I feel it. And then with John, major work around John.
You took him out to lunch and thanked him for leaving you.
I eventually was able to do that. I mean, I wanted to kill him for years.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kill him. But I was pleasant to him because he is the father of my son. So I realized very early on, as angry or upset as I was, I had to find a way to deal like a grown-up. I had to deal with the relationship in a grown-up way, even though I was feeling, all sorts of complicated things. I just had to, on the outside, be pleasant and try to continue, not to cut off.
What I'm becoming aware of, and I was aware as I've kind of been diving into you.
Yeah, I hope you're doing therapy on me. And you're
I'm doing therapy on you.
Yeah, I want to hear everything that you think.
One of the most difficult aspects of being brought up in a traumatic environment and having PTSD is that we're reactive, we're overreactive, so
That's
that
me.
but, unless I'm not seeing things, you may feel reactive, but you don't act out.
I try not to.
You had the wisdom, because people really do them, and I think this is a message in your book too, people do themselves harm when they have this kind of excitement of being right and looking over and judging others and then condemning them and acting out against them. There's the kind of exquisite superiority of, you arsehole, you've done this to me, you're going to be punished.
I'm going to make you suffer.
I'm going to make you suffer. But this exquisite superiority just ensures that the suffering continues for you and the other person, hoping that your hate is that they'll die, but actually it kills something in you. And so you have this instinct, which I think your siblings do, if I've understood your siblings.
Yes, we all do.
That you have to, although you may want to do a wrong thing, you do the thing that repairs the relationship and ensures connection, which is how you can get to 76 and get on with your ex-husband, your son, your siblings, that the key relationships in your life are thriving, healthy relationships, which is not true of many people of your history.
And coming from the era that I came from.
And
now more people are doing that kind of work.
True.
Yes. So that's why I say I'm lucky. I know the phrase, you make your own luck, which you do. If your intention is pure, my intention is to heal and not to hate someone that I really love just because they did something, their behavior wasn't.
Because it's exhausting hating, right?
You've got it. I got fed up being exhausted. Got fed up being exhausted from my childhood and trying to keep my head above the fray, Exhausted from being a sort of pop star in the 60s, which was madly exciting. But then I was also partly terrified. Exhausted from being in this body, from being bloody Lulu and Marie and all that, whoever I am. That's what I mean about a tortured soul. I have so much going on inside me. It's hard to contain it all.
It is. It's this little tiny body.
It's hard. Hard to contain it. But, I believe we are all very powerful. We have no idea how much power we have. I don't. And yet I kind of have an inkling.
Like that Mandela quote, that our deepest fear isn't that we are inadequate, but our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Yes, and the extra part of that, I don't know where it is, if it's Mandela or somebody, but...
Or maybe it's Lulu.
So if you reveal it.
Show your power.
Show it. Don't be afraid to show it, because then you give other people permission to access theirs and show it. And then we go forward and we rise and rise and rise. Yes.
And it's collaborative power. And part of the poison for you was when you said yes, when you really wanted to say no. When you didn't own your power, but you've earned to say no and create your boundaries now.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's where I've gotten to. That's why Carl Jung says the privilege of a lifetime is to know yourself. Yes. Is to know yourself. And that's where I'm getting to at 76. I'm beginning to know. So, and the other thing is it's a privilege to live this long.
Yes.
Because then we get the wisdom, the old crone. I'll turn into an old crone in a minute, hopefully.
But and also, you say it now that I'm learning now, and I've got to 76 and I've got this wisdom. But your instincts to learn from working with Take That with Gary Barlow, working with David Bowie?
I think they were blessings. They were gifts to me. They were gifts to me from a higher power, from the universe, just putting people in my way, in my energy field. And it's helped me to continue, you see.
Yeah.
If I reinvent myself, I now realize, and I didn't realize as I was doing it, it wasn't a plan. I didn't have a strategy. That's why I know that I've been gifted with everything.
And good instincts.
And gifted, and then being responsible for whatever the gift is, being responsible for the fact that you're aware and you're conscious, and using it to its best advantage, not abusing it by not using it, say.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels very powerful and moving. So if you were talking to a young person now, or maybe young Marie, what wisdom would you give her?
There's so many things I would want to say when I have a long conversation. But maybe just one thing. Oof. Just keep going. You're going to get there.
Dare to keep going.
And by that, I mean enlightenment.
Do you have a picture of enlightenment?
Yes, a wise soul who doesn't have moods, who doesn't have tiredness, is just has equipoise, balanced, serenity, all knowing. I don't have a little ambition. Also, I only realised over the past few years, hellishly ambitious. Dirty word when I was a child.
Kidding me that you only
I had no idea this was ambition.
That you were ambitious.
I just want to keep going, keep learning, because I want to become all-knowing. And I want to become totally serene.
And if I was your therapist, I would say the image of serenity for you would be the one that allows you to have this bubbling life force that isn't always containable. Because I think in some way you're projecting onto a different version of you.
You're always been the opposite from what you are, really. But no, it's to
give yourself permission to be who you are.
There you go. Now that I struggle with that. But I'm much more accepting today than I ever was before, because I'm understanding how useful all the characters I've played and how useful everything in my life has been to bring me to this point.
And that's a beautiful point to end.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lulu. Hello, Emily and Sophie. We are going to talk about my fabulous conversation with Lulu. What came up for you?
Yeah, it was such a sort of joyful conversation to listen to. And I suppose the first thing that came up for me was I feel so far from enlightened and so sort of knackered. And I was like, oh, I could just really do with like a sort of shot of Lulu into my system in terms of energy and running up the stairs and
she really did. Extraordinary.
Like bubbliness. So I suppose my first thought was it was more of a like, oh, whatever she has, can she give me a bit of over here? Share it. Yeah, can you just share a bit? I could do a bit of running up the stairs energy.
And it must have been that energy that sort of powered her success, wasn't it, very early, that it's so transmittable and receivable.
Yes. And also just like a sort of an example of like living your life fully. And I think one of the things that I fear most in my own life is, or when I think about my deathbed, like in an existential way, I think about what I really don't want to do is sort of live my life on a kind of autopilot of not experiencing things. And I think there's something about her aliveness that feels really inspirational and sort of full and rich and fabulous. And it doesn't mean that it's always easy, but it does mean there's a kind of aliveness. And Lulu's also had like obviously an incredible life in terms of success and lots of other experiences. But I don't think you need that to sort of have the liveliness of sort of, I guess, just consciously living your own life, whatever that is.
I mean, I, funny enough, have the same That's one of my main, like existential angst. Maybe it's just human, or maybe it's a Samuel family thing. But one of the things I thought was so interesting was this idea that, we all have personas, don't we? But that hers was so explicitly shaped that whereas most of us have these different personas that sort of emerge over time in response to our environments, to ourselves, and how to bridge those. And I guess I was thinking about all of us and in the general sense of our different personas, and the kind of gradation between authenticity, where we feel very alive, personas, which sort of, I think it was Jung who said we all need personas to help us kind of bridge this
Function.
interface between us and the social world, and then sort of fakeness, right? Or false selves that when people are in that place often feel very dead inside, right? Because there's such a big dissonance between the person people see outside and how they feel inside. And that thing of bring your whole self to work. There was a phase where people used to say that sort of in the social media
bring your
ether.
whole self to work.
You should bring your whole self to work, like your vulnerability, your everything, which I just don't really agree with.
But there is a kind of, I've got a book here and also discussions with Pippa Grange, who's a psychologist, talking about whole being, that you don't necessarily bring every part of you, your every self, to everything, but that you have an awareness of your whole being.
Yes.
And I think that's in a way what I kind of took from it, was that she feels so much more alive now that she's joined forces of Marie and dug up the secrets and the shame of the violence and the difficulty. And so that there is this sense of whole being. And of course, there's always the bit that you show in public places. Does that make sense?
Exactly, that we both need to move between parts. Like if you get fixed in one way of being and it becomes an identity rather than a sort of way of being in a particular situation, that becomes problematic, doesn't it? Because then the other parts of you can't be connected to them. You want that ability to move and connect to all the different parts of yourself, ideally. Not that we all do, but that's the kind of ideal, isn't it? And it was the other day, it made me think about it when I was having a really bad day and then I was seeing a client, and I felt so much better after seeing my client. Because, and that's not a new thing, that's happened to me quite a few times, where that requirement to be that regulated version of myself is so good for me. But I couldn't have just sat outside and gone, be more regulated version of Sophie, please. But to be called on in situations or in personas that help us access parts of ourselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and I think in lots of ways, when Lulu was talking, it sort of made me think she's a very sort of literal version of parts work, isn't she? Of that idea of embracing all our parts. And for Lulu, she needed Marie to be like the toughie and survive and keep going and be gritty. And she also needed Lulu to kind of fit in and perform and be the singer that everybody wanted. And she was so young. But in lots of ways, like you were saying, we all kind of have versions of that, don't we?
Well, I think where illness comes in is when we use so much energy to suppress the parts that we don't like, and then they come out sideways. So I think the idea with wholeness isn't about showing all of yourself all of the time. It's like having a connection to an aspect of your darker self where your shame lies, that you could kind of go inside and say, this is where my pain is and it comes from here. And, that you have a kind of really coherent, although it's messy, internal sense of your underbelly as well as your front.
Yes. And that this sort of goal, I don't know, I haven't done any IFS training, but my understanding of the goal of like internal family systems and parts work is sort of reframing the parts of yourself that you don't like, that you feel ashamed of, to sort of recognize their purpose and their role, and that they sort of originated it from a survival protective place, even if they're no longer serving you in that way anymore.
I've just started IFS therapy with an IFS therapist.
Great. So you can give us insider track. IFS as a client.
As a client, I've had 2 sessions only, And I think that's right. I feel more aware of the different parts and how they operate and that they have good intention. And I did a piece of work. I don't want to go into too much detail. What do I want to say? What do I want to say?
The shame part.
No, it was about an early part of me. And it's been really beautiful and powerful very quickly. Should we go back to Lulu and think about other things that came up?
I just liked when she talked at the end a bit, or just resonated, I guess, a bit about abusing your gifts by not using them. And it wasn't a big part of the conversation, but you know, when sentence just lands, I guess is someone who probably has more the tendency of wanting to stay safe and small than take big risks and risk making food of myself or failure. It's a nice alternative approach, isn't it, towards oneself, of going, to not lean into what you have to offer, whatever that looks like for whoever you are, is also a sort of abuse of gifts in her language, as much as kind of using them for the wrong purposes, if you see what I mean. And that shame around ambition.
Isn't it funny? I literally have no memory of that, and I've just listened to it again. Isn't it funny how we pick up what
lands,
what is important?
Yeah, what resonates, or what sort of feels like, I could do with a bit more thinking like that. Yeah. So when you were talking at the end, is it? Maybe this doesn't reflect very well on me if this is the bit that I picked up. I was thinking, is it harder to receive than to give? Maybe I'm quite good at receiving, I don't know. But I wanted to just sort of think about it more. Is it that like receiving is somehow an acknowledgement of need? Like if you receive something, then you're kind of tacitly sort of saying that you are in need of something. Like I have to put down my guard to allow something in, even if it's something as concrete as a present. And I suppose there's something about control, isn't it? Like when you receive, you don't necessarily get to choose when to receive because the person giving chose when to give it, and then you're sort of like in that sense on the back foot, so maybe it doesn't feel so active. I don't know, I was just sort of curious about it because you sort of said it with such sort of certainty, but I don't know, is it always true?
I don't know if it's always true. I mean, I think it's often true for people in the health professions or helping professions because they get so used to giving and find it hard to receive. But I think it requires a level of trust to surrender, to fully receive, and a level of vulnerability to be properly grateful.
Yeah.
To open yourself up to really show gratitude, I think requires a kind of putting down of defenses that can feel quite scary for some people.
And there's some loss of control, isn't there? Because you can't fully choose what to receive. You can't say, yes, a little bit of that. No, not that bit. Then it kills the gift. It makes me think a bit of Esther Perel's task she often gets couples to do about giving and receiving touch and how you experience that and how different it is to touch someone in the way that you think they will like it versus how you would like to touch them for yourself. So taking touch. And I think that whole power dynamic and control and vulnerability and openness, I think it was such an interesting thing to pick up on him because I think all of us could reflect on that for ourselves, couldn't we? Of like, what is our relationship to that?
Yeah, and even when you just sort of think about that thing of like when somebody gives you a present and you really love the person and you really love the present, and yet somehow it can sometimes feel like, oh, like I don't have the words to say thank you. Like my words feel a bit sort of insufficient for what you have given me. And I think that's a sort of dynamic too, isn't it? Of sort of power imbalance in a way of like, you have given me something and I'm trying to give something back to you, but I don't have a thing. Or I don't quite know what I'm trying to say, but that sort of...
or in my case, when I'm given something particularly by your dad, not particularly because he's actually quite a good present giver, but mainly because I tell him what I want. But I can be so ungrateful.
Yeah.
Like, when people give you presents that they would like to receive and not who you are, There's a whole psychology
a whole other
around
podcast.
giving.
I mean, yes, I have this real memory of opening a godparent present when I was probably, I don't know, 7 or something. And it was a really boring looking book. Just firstly, the cascade of disappointment that was like much bigger than I knew was sort of permitted
Going to come. Yeah.
You know, that wasn't how I was supposed to feel. I was supposed to feel appreciative instead of just deeply disappointed. And I guess our histories of gift receiving and giving will go all the way back, all the way back.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway.
It's an aside.
Everyone can think about the rubbish presents they've got.
We can prelude to Christmas episode.
But I just want to be so thankful to Lulu for being so open and full of, reflection and the capacity to learn and grow is a real inspiration. And she said she's felt great sadness, but great joy. And I think that is a sort of life well lived, isn't it? And it's a wonderful example of that. Thank you too. And thank you to everyone who is listening.